Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we've got a stack of research on something, well, something most of us probably used this morning and didn't even think twice about.
The automobile.
Exactly, the car. But looking at these notes, it's really not a single invention, is it?
Not at all. No, it's more of a long evolution. You're tracking a journey from these very early steam-powered tractors to what we have now, which are basically computers on wheels.
And that journey starts way, way further back than I thought. I mean, my mind goes to Ford, maybe Benz.
That's the common starting point.
But the research points to a French engineer, Nicolas Joseph Cugnot, back in 1769.
Right, Cugnot. He's really the starting point for self-propelled vehicles. But this was not a car you'd drive to the store.
No, this is a military thing, right?
A massive three-wheeled steam tractor. It was designed to haul cannons. And you can just imagine the engineering problems there. I mean, a heavy boiler, a fire, just to get it moving.
It barely moved. It went at a walking pace and had to stop every, 15 minutes?
Every 15 minutes, yeah, just to build up steam pressure again. And it had almost no brakes.
Which, I saw this note, he's actually credited with the world's first car accident.
He is. He drove this multi-ton beast straight into a stone wall. So, a failure in practice, but...
But it proved the concept could work. It just needed a better power source.
A much better power source. Which takes us to 1886. To Carl Benz.
The patent motor wagon.
Yeah.
And the big leap here was the internal combustion engine.
That was the game changer. Suddenly you move the explosion inside the engine. No more giant boiler. It's lighter. It's way more efficient.
But the tech was only half the problem. You still had to convince people this thing was, reliable.
And that's where Bertha Benz comes in. An amazing story.
Right. In 1888, she takes the car, without even telling Carl.
Just takes it.
And drives 106 kilometers to see her mother. She's basically the world's first test driver.
And the world's first marketer, really. Yeah. And think about it. No paved roads, no gas stations. The sources say a fuel line got clogged, and she cleared it with a hat pin.
Unbelievable. She used her garter as insulation for a shorted wire. She proved the machine could actually do it.
She did. But even then, cars were these handcrafted toys for the rich.
So how did they get into everyone's driveway? That has to be Henry Ford.
Henry Ford. And the key thing to remember with Ford is that he didn't invent the car. He invented the process.
The moving assembly line.
Exactly. The Model T in 1908 was a good car, but the assembly line in 1913, that was the revolution.
The numbers are just staggering. It took over 12 hours to build a car before the line.
And afterward?
93 minutes.
Just 93 minutes. It crashed the price. It made the car a utility for everyone. And of course, with mass adoption comes a new problem.
Mass safety.
Right. So we jump to 1959, a Volvo engineer named Nils Bullen.
The three-point seatbelt. I thought this was fascinating, what Volvo did with the patent.
Oh, yeah. It was a huge move. They just opened it up. They let every other manufacturer use it for free because they knew it would save lives.
So we've got mass production, we've got mass safety, and then the whole industry gets hit by this huge shock.
The 1973 oil crisis, that was the moment the American gas guzzler died.
Fuel prices just shot through the roof.
And all those big V8 engines suddenly became a massive liability, and that opened the door for manufacturers like Toyota and Honda.
We're already making smaller, more efficient cars.
They had to, so that priority on efficiency, that evolves into the Toyota Prius in 97.
Right, the first real mainstream hybrid.
And then Tesla, in 2008, comes along and proves that electric cars could be cool, that they could be high performance. They shifted the whole conversation from mechanics to software.
The software-defined vehicle?
Exactly. Your car gets updates overnight, just like your phone. It has AI, internet. It's a completely different machine.
So we go from Cugnot crashing his steam tracker into a wall to cars that can practically drive themselves. It's been a wild ride.
It really has.
So as we look at where this is all going, toward full autonomy, what's the big idea for you, the listener, to chew on?
I think it comes down to a fundamental question. For more than a century, the idea of the car has been defined by the driver.
You are the one in control.
Right. But as these machines become fully autonomous computers on wheels, are we witnessing the end of the driver?
And the beginning of the permanent passenger. Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at a stack of reports that basically argue the era of the car as a machine is, well, it's over.
It really is. The sources suggest the chassis itself, the hardware, is becoming irrelevant.
It's like the profit is migrating from the steel to the operating system. We saw this exact same thing with phones about 15 years ago.
A complete inversion of value. I
Yeah.
mean, we're looking at a timeline here that starts way back in 1886, but the real metric for success is no longer horsepower.
It's computing power.
Exactly. The industry calls it the digital pivot, and what it means for how we get around is, frankly, staggering.
Before we jump into, the sci-fi future, we should probably set the stage. We all know the basic history, Carl Benz, Henry Ford, the Model T.
Right.
But these sources argue that the true ancestor of the modern car isn't the Model T or even a 60s muscle car. It's a regulatory shift in the 1970s.
It's the ECU, the electronic control unit. That was the moment the car stopped being purely mechanical.
Because of the oil crisis.
The oil crisis forced efficiency, which needed electronic management. That little box was the foothold for everything else. ABS, airbags, you name it.
And that foothold is now a complete takeover. We're living in what the reports call the Great Transition. The headlines are all about electrification, Tesla and the Prius. But the electric powertrain, it seems, is just the prerequisite for the real shift.
Connectivity. The electricity is just the fuel. The connectivity is the car's nervous system.
We're not just talking about Bluetooth here.
No, not at all. This is vehicle to everything V2X. The car is in constant communication with the cloud, with the roads, with other cars.
Which is the foundation for ADAS advanced driver assistance systems. And this is where the legal stuff starts to get messy, right?
It gets very messy because the liability starts shifting from the person in the driver's seat to the company that made the car.
And that's the push toward this ACES concept.
It is. ACES, that's autonomous, connected, electric, and shared. The end goal isn't just convenience, it's this zero-accident vision.
The numbers are pretty stark.
1.3 million road deaths a year, globally. Almost all of it, human error. The argument is, if you remove the human, you get that number close to zero.
So getting to that point, level 5 autonomy means the steering wheel. It just goes away. The design documents for 2040 look less like cockpits and more like lounges.
Or offices,
Yeah.
or even sleeping pods. If you don't need to look at the road, the windshield can just be a screen.
Let's talk about the power source, because this was surprising. It's not just a debate about lithium-ion batteries.
Right. Lithium-ion has its limits, range, charging speed. The research points to hydrogen fuel cells, probably for trucking. But for cars, everyone is chasing the solid-state battery.
The holy grail. The specs in these reports are wild, charging in minutes, not hours.
And the longevity. That's the part that really breaks the current business model. We're talking about batteries that could last for decades.
So if you have an electric drivetrain with almost no moving parts to break and a battery that lasts 20 years,
Then the car stops being a depreciating asset.
it becomes an immortal machine. That's the term they use. And with over-the-air updates, the car actually gets more capable over time.
It evolves instead of getting old. But if the car lasts forever and drives itself, the whole model of selling one person a new car every 5 years completely collapses.
Which brings us to the S in ACES shared, the end of private car ownership, at least in cities.
Why own one when you could just subscribe to a robotaxi service? You shift from buying a product to buying mobility as a service.
You don't buy the car, you just buy the ride.
It becomes a utility, like water or electricity. You just turn on the tap and a car arrives.
So we've gone from iron and steam to silicon and software, trading ownership for access. It feels like we're gaining incredible efficiency, but maybe losing something too.
We are seeing the end of the driver as an identity.
Which leaves us with a thought to wrap this all up. If cars become immortal, autonomous services with perfect safety records, what happens to the enthusiast? In 50 years, will the whole idea of a classic car even exist? And will the act of manually driving a car be seen not as a hobby, but as a dangerous, maybe even outlawed act?
Kind of like riding a horse on the highway today.
Something to chew on while you wait for your next software update. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a subject that, well, it literally drives the modern world. The evolution of the automobile. And before you think this is just going to be about engines and tires, stick with us.
Right, because the story of the car is really a mirror for society. It's about how we live, where we live. It's about this, relentless pursuit of mobility.
Exactly. We're going from those terrifying horseless carriages all the way to, well, what are essentially mobile living rooms of the future.
And I think most people's timeline starts with, Carl Benz in the late 1800s?
Yeah, the gas engine. But that's not right, is it?
Yeah.
The story starts much, much earlier.
Way earlier. We have to go back to 1769, pre-American Revolution.
1769.
Mhm.
That seems impossible. What was it running on?
Steam. French inventor Nicolas Joseph Cugnot built this huge three-wheeled tractor. The idea was to haul cannons.
A cannon tractor. Okay.
It was slow, it was heavy, but it moved under its own power. But here's the really surprising part for most people. Electric cars predate the gas engine by decades.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I always thought EVs were a totally modern thing.
Not at all. A guy named Robert Anderson had a working electric carriage in the 1830s.
So what was the problem?
The batteries, they weren't rechargeable. The ambition was there, but the tech just hadn't caught up. It's kind of ironic because battery chemistry is still the bottleneck we're fighting today.
That is wild. Okay, so the gas engine wins, which brings us to the moment the car becomes a real thing for normal people. Henry Ford, the Model T.
Right. And everyone knows about the 1913 assembly line, but the key insight isn't just the line, it's that Ford broke the process into 84 separate steps.
84. So it wasn't just about making it faster.
It was about making it simpler. It de-skilled the labor. You didn't need a master craftsman anymore, you just needed someone who could do one thing, tighten one bolt, all day.
And that efficiency just crashed the price.
Exactly. Build time dropped from over 12 hours to just 93 minutes.
Wow. But price wasn't the only barrier, right? I mean, starting those things was a physical ordeal.
Oh, it was dangerous. Hand cranking could easily break your arm if the engine kicked back. It took real strength. That's why the 1912 Cadillac electric starter was such a huge deal.
It wasn't just a convenience.
It was a revolution. It democratized driving. Suddenly women, older folks, anyone could start a car. It fundamentally changed who was allowed to be mobile.
So cars get easier to use, cheaper. Fast forward to the 50s, and there are these cultural icons, tail fins, chrome.
Yes, style over substance. They were beautiful, but they were death traps.
Right, which is why 1959 is so important.
The three-point seatbelt. A Volvo engineer, Nils Bohlin, invents it.
Right.
And what Volvo did next was, well, it was incredible. They just gave the patent away for free.
They just gave it away.
They realized it was too important to hoard. It shifted the whole design philosophy from just looking good to keeping you alive.
And that philosophy shifted again in the 70s, but because of the oil crisis, the gas guzzlers were done.
The party was over. But here's the connection most people miss. The oil crisis is what forced cars to become digital.
How so? I think of digital as, touch screens and Bluetooth.
It started under the hood. To meet those strict new fuel standards, the old mechanical carburetors, they just weren't precise enough. Manufacturers had to invent the electronic control unit, the ECU.
The computer.
The computer. It didn't get into the car for entertainment. It got in there to manage fuel injection.
That makes so much sense. And that leads right to the 90s, the Prius.
And the Prius was huge because it made efficiency a tech statement. It wasn't a compromise anymore. It was cool.
Oh.
It completely paved the way for Tesla and the EV revolution we're in now.
But now we're moving beyond just changing the engine. We're talking about removing the driver entirely.
That's the end game. Level 5 autonomous. The car has no steering wheel, no pedals. It's a living room on wheels.
A pod that you just get into. And you can sleep or work while it takes you somewhere. It stops being a machine you operate and becomes a space you inhabit.
It's a profound shift. From a steam tractor hauling cannons to an AI-driven bedroom.
It really is. And it makes me think. It raises a huge question about the future.
About where we live, right.
Exactly. If your commute isn't wasted time anymore, if you can actually sleep a full night or work a full day in your autonomous car, does location even matter anymore?
Why pay city rent? You could live 3 hours away in a huge house for half the price, sleep on the way to the office, and wake up when you arrive.
It could completely de-urbanize our whole society, a kind of mobile geography.
That is the question, isn't it?
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.